Hey, what's up, everyone? It's Kevin Platt Boudreau. Wanted to give you an update. It's been a long time. Apologize for that. I basically spent the last few months in Mexico grinding cash games and then grinding all the big scoop tournaments on PokerStars. Started off scoop going pretty well. I think over my first 55K in buy-ins, I cashed for like 62K. So up a little bit and then just blanked out the last 2 or 3 big days of tournaments and put in a lot of buy-ins. So ended up a small loser there. And then before that was playing cash games. Ended up taking a shot at 5-10 no limit and basically losing too much before going down and doing the same thing at 2-5 no limit and putting myself in a bit of a spot. Just goes to show that there are lots of swings in poker and you gotta really just try to keep an even keel when you're running good, playing good, not to get overconfident, and when you're running bad to realize that you're not going to run bad forever and that just because you're playing bad, you're not going to play bad forever. That's directly stolen from Brian from 2 months, 2 million, which is available on Netflix now. If you haven't watched that yet, it's pretty good. Little poker series. I'm sure if you watch this and you haven't seen that, you might like it, unless you know me personally, in which case then maybe you possibly wouldn't. But that show's pretty good. Speaking of 2 months, 2 million and Krantz and all that, the premiere of Bet Raise Fold, the poker documentary that Krantz and Taylor Cabby, a couple other guys in the poker community, got together and did. That premiere is the 12th, and I got some tickets to that. It's going to be at the Brendan Theaters here in Las Vegas, so should be really exciting. I'm going to do my best to bust out the camera beforehand and try to get some pictures with different people there, maybe get a few words from different people, and then get some thoughts after the movie, after people have a chance to see it and think about what they've seen, and be interested to see how it turns out. I don't expect to be in the film or anything like that. I have really no incentive other than I trust the people that are behind it, and I think it's going to be a good product, and I think it's going to do a good job of telling our story, unlike some other things that are out there right now. Speaking of, I'm just rambling about other random things, but Haralabob, a guy on Twitter, and Ben Mezrich, I don't know if that's how you pronounce his name, the guy that wrote Accident to Billionaires and Bringing Down the House, which was turned into 21, both made into movies. He wrote a book recently basically glorifying the guys, the owners of Absolute Poker. Haven't even had a chance to read it. I trust Haralabob. He's read it. He was one of like the main experts of all this going down, and he had a funny line on his Twitter, and him and Ben got into it a lot and kind of arguing back and forth, but he just talked about how, like, it just reminded me of Scooby-Doo, how, like, if these young kids weren't there, like, they would have got away with it, and I will get around to reading that probably once the summer comes to an end, and I'll get some more official thoughts then, but there's a pretty funny Twitter hashtags going around. Ben Mezrich's next book and Mezrich's next book. So probably mispronouncing his name, but he probably mistold the story, so I don't feel too bad about it. Anyways, let's get to these hands. The hands are pretty fun. I decided not to share what hole cards I had in these hands. I did give a spoiler or two away on my Twitter at Kevin Fwap, but without further ado, I'm going to get into 3 MTT hands from this 1500 no limit event. All 3 are going to have river overbets, so it was a theme of my day. And yeah, without further ado, let's jump into it. First hand, blinds are 5100, no ante. I raised 200 on the button with a 4800 stack. Small blind calls with 4K, big blind folds. The flop comes Jack 10-7, rainbow. Small blind checks, I bet pretty small, 150. Small blind calls, 150. And the turn is the offsuit 3. Small blind leads into me in a pot of 750 for 350 chips, and I call, and the river is a 7. Small blind checks to me with 3,300 chips in this pot of 1450, and I have him slightly covered, and I decide to go all in. And if you guys want to guess what hands I have in these and put them in the comment section below, I will tell anybody if they end up getting them right, but they're all, or 2 out of 3 are really tricky hands and would be very difficult to guess, and one of them is much more obvious. So second hand, blinds are 75 150 now. Guy opens EP to 325 with 7,700 chips. Didn't seem to me like he was necessarily a professional poker player. Seemed to be okay. I say that because he missed a spot for, I thought it was a pretty clear thin value bet, and he checked back. And then just after that, did like a weird bet line, and all the sizings were pretty small, which indicated that he might have been going for thin value, which contradicted the hand I just saw before. So I ended up giving him the fold on that one. It was a small pot, and I didn't have much, but folds to me, I call, have him covered. Flop comes King 9-5, spade club. So King 9-5, spade club. I check. He bets 425 into 725. I check raise to 1250, and he calls. The turn is a 4 of diamonds. I check, and at this point he has around 6,200, and he checks back. The turn is the Jack of Hearts. So now the board reads King 9-5, 4 Jack. I sit there, think for quite a while. It even gets to the point where the dealer says to the other player, he says, the action's on you, and I have to interrupt and say, no, the action's on me, I haven't acted yet. I didn't say it like that, but he ended up folding ace-king off face up, so that was a pretty fun hand for me. Alright, and the third and final hand, another fun hand, 75 150, EP plus 2 is a big stack at the table, 18K raises to 350. EP plus 3 calls with 8,000 in his stack. I call on the button with 13,000, and the big blind calls with 6,000. The flop comes Queen Jack 3 rainbow. There's about 1,600 in the pot, and EP, the original raiser, bets 600. It goes fold. I call, big blind folds. The turn is a queen. He checks. I make a small bet of 800 and he calls. And the river is a 6. And he checks to me. I bet 6,200 and he ended up calling. Those are 3 fun hands from the series so far. If you guys enjoyed these updates, or if you would prefer the live updates on the breaks, let me know in the comment section below. Also, be sure to put your guesses out there so you guys can get confirmation if you think you know what I have. And take care, guys.